the global qualifier, the wild card, and they did not. But we are going to get into the map bans here. It looks like eStar banned Garden of Terror, HotsLady banned Battlefield of Eternity, and then eStar picked Infernal Shrines, HotsLady picked Tomb of the Spider Queen, and eStar picked Bractus Holdout. So we will see Infernal Shrines and Tomb of the Spider Queen, and then if we get to Game 3, we will have Bractus Holdout. And we also inadvertently know who's playing now. It is eStar versus HotsLady. Just call me very super hyped for Gold League stream. Yes, I am super hyped for the Gold League stream. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who maybe haven't been watching the stream necessarily, let me tell you about the odyssey of casting Gold League for me. In spring, Zoya and Gilly casted Gold League, and I was just like happy. I was just happy that I was finally getting to see the Chinese games. We're going to talk about that later. We're actually going to get into this game here. We have eStar versus HotsLady, Game 1 on Infernal Shrines for the Gold Club World Championship. This is the first game of the Chinese wildcard qualifier. These teams are competing in a round-robin format to see who gets to represent China for the wildcard slot in the top 8. We are going to see HotsLady with first pick, first ban. They immediately ban out the Kerrigan. Of course, she has been a meta pick on this map ever since MVP Black used her in Super League in the spring. And then ETC is the ban for eStar. This is something we've been seeing a lot of across the board. We've been seeing tank chokes constantly. There is this huge tendency for teams to be banning out tanks, and this forces, to some degree, HotsLady to either take Muradin or take one of the top tier supports, and then eStar gets Muradin by default. So because the tanks, there's so few tanks in the game, they really have complete kits. It's really just Muradin and ETC that are the complete tanks that can do all the jobs a tank have to do without having to count for them in the draft. It leaves the rest of your draft very flexible. But there's certain heroes right now that are considered so powerful, like Malfurion, that if you're first pick, you feel obligated to go that instead, and the other team gets to pick up what they want. And then they get Muradin. They also pick one of the best counters to Muradin in the form of Tychus. So eStar, to my mind, is in pretty strong control of this draft right now. HotsLady is going to have to pick up their tank here, whatever tank they do want to have, or they're going to get even further tank choke in the next round of bans. They are going to pick up the tier. So not surprising there. They kind of had to do that. But it means that they also probably want to pick up their ranged, since Tychus was picked up for eStar. Or they could go and pick up their bruiser before the tank choke got. Nope, they do pick up the range. It is going to be the Falstad. They are going to try and get some value out of globals on this map. Even out of Gust. Gust can be a good defensive tool, win or lose on the Punisher and on the Shrines, depending on what your objective is. If you're just trying to go for a tempo lead on structures, Vala is going to be the ban for eStar. Vala and Tychus are kind of the top two range DPS in a lot of pros' minds right now. So if you take one, you tend to ban the other if you can, if it gets that far into the draft. So eStar playing really standard right now with their draft. They're just trying to draft a solid comp, which to my mind says that they're very confident. When you're just trying to draft a solid comp on a map that you're comfortable on, it means that you're confident that you're better than your opponent. You'll be able to beat them with very standard play. Zeratul is going to be the ban out for HotsLady. Zeratul did get quite a few buffs in the recent patch, at least at the very high end. Debatable whether or not at the mid-range he is any better, but at the very high end I think he's significantly stronger because he gets a lot of his game-breaking tools earlier. And Tassadar Sonya for eStar. This is something we haven't seen in a while, just because Sonya did receive a round of nerfs, but Sonya is one of the best Shrine Babysitters, arguably the best Shrine Babysitter next to Kerrigan, and Tassadar basically makes Sonya immortal. Tassadar Tychus is also quite strong. We're probably going to see another support picked up. We're probably not going to see solo support Tassadar. And HotsLady is going to lock in Alarak Li Ming. Alarak Malfurion is something we've seen a ton of. Telekinesis into roots is extremely reliable. Telekinesis into roots into Li Ming erasing someone is also very reliable. HotsLady going for that blow-up comp, going for the dive potential. And eStar going to counter-pick a global, giving him that soak potential. And giving them a disengage option, potentially Emerald Wind or Blink Hill for mobility, depending on what they want to go for. And those are some solid drafts, really, across the team, from across the board from both teams. I really feel like both teams picked up a lot of tools, a lot of utility. They picked up a lot of synergies between different heroes. We have the Tassadar Sonya. Muradin, I think, is the best tank to pair with Brightwing, just because in the very late game, Muradin is so completely independent. He doesn't really need a support to babysit him at all, that Brightwing's slight lack of burst healing is not going to matter as much. Shield Dust against Li Ming, obviously quite strong. But, you know, you have heroes like Li Ming, Alarak, Malfurion. You have that Wombo combo, and you have Sanctification for any overextensions, or anytime you miss, you get Sanctification. You can almost like reset a fight. You also have Gust for the same purpose. A lot of good tools here for both teams. Yeah, I've been doing... the map bans are visible on screen for all the Goldie casts. I have been doing them live. I didn't include them in the VODs because there's usually a lot of downtime between them. But be okay with that. We are going to have eStar on the left, eStar Panda XC. eStar Panda M. Let's see. I actually don't know the team's names, and I can't read Chinese. So if they don't have an English or an anglicized name, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to say their name. We are going to have HotsLady on the right-hand side of the map. It's a good question. I actually don't know what's going on with the HGC casting rosters. I don't know if they're going to be fixed or if they're going to rotate. I'm going to stop responding to chat now and focus on the game. We're going to have both teams going 5-man mid at first. Looking for any potential opportunities. Is this set to... One second, guys. I'm going to make sure this is set to source. It's set to medium. I don't know why that... I apologize for that. I don't know why that happened. We're going to set it to source. Make it look a little crisper. There we go. Apologize for that. Technical issues. Don't know why it was set to medium. I never set it to medium. Alarak is going to rotate the top lane. We are going to have Alarak as a solo laner. I know a lot of people question whether or not Alarak should be used in the solo lane just because he's so incredibly strong at playmaking in the 4-man, but he's also the only hero that can really safely 4-man in this comp, except for Tyrael, who does have an escape, but Tyrael's the tank, which means he needs to be with the team just to break rotations and to zone. And we are going to see a little bit of a poke coming out of Li Ming here, trying to get some damage onto Tychus. Tyrael going to break that rotation and get out with that smite. Eldruin's does take a little bit of damage, but Malfurion's going to heal that up incredibly efficiently. Not a big deal. We do see Sonya and Alarak in the top lane. It's an interesting matchup. I've actually seen quite a bit of it so far in this tournament. It seems like Sonya does actually really well against Alarak. She can just sort of eat the combo, spin to win on the wave, and get a ton of sustain. We are going to see a nice 4-man rotation. We're actually having the global stay bottom, Falstad and Brightwing, making sure they don't miss that. So both teams have effectively broken the rotation, which means that they are going to be a little bit low. Sonya opts to come down, help potentially secure a kill. Nope, just going to push the wave a little bit. This is because Sonya was too far pushed up in the top lane. You can't really push into the towers versus an Alarak. It's just too risky because he can telekinesis into you as soon as the wave's gone and get that free damage. So you have to either back up. You want to do something. We're going to see Sonya rotate back to the top lane. Brightwing's going to Z on top of him. Brightwing will stay in the top and continue to push that lane until they have 4, and then we'll Z back in. So eStar so far just using their global as much as possible to secure that early game experience advantage. Currently everyone from HotsLady is on the shrine or in the lane. You can see Li Ming still there in the mid lane. And eStar trying to set up on the shrine. Sonya is doing her classic Infernal Shrines bit, spin to win on as many minions as possible, keeping her sustained. You can see the Tastar shields are just being spammed on top of her, keeping her at max health. And this is the beauty of Sonya on Infernal Shrines. It is so incredibly difficult to force a Sonya off of shrines. You can see is they just backing out, and they're going to come back in as soon as the shield is off cooldown, and there's another minion wave, and just spin and spin and spin. They are a little bit behind. We do see the Ancient Spear onto Falstad, trying to force him back. eStar Panda is extremely low. The sound's finally coming through. The sound has been on this whole time, for the record. That wasn't me. That was the clean feed. I apologize for not having sound. There's nothing I can do about it. But it is here now. Sonya again with the spin to win, and they are going to manage to pick it up. And look at that. Sonya was at half health at one point during that. She just ate a full combo, but there's so many minions, and she gets so much value out of Whirlwind. And Tassadar shields buffer all of the burst damage that came in after the fact. She can just stay on the shrine. They do end up picking it up. And Brightwing was top for the majority of that. They do end up with a significant experience lead, a full level ahead right now, and they're actually going to get the entire wall and quite a bit of damage on the fort with the first Punisher. Normally you're happy to get just the wall, but that is the wall plus half, more than half, of that bottom fort. eStar getting so much value Absolutely, so much value out of that first Punisher, and they have taken a dominant lead on the map at this point. We are actually going to see the new talent picked up at level 4 for Murden. Not even a new talent, but a reworked talent, Crowd Control. Does do the same thing it used to do with the reduced cooldown per target on your W, but now it also gives 5 mana back, which makes it insane on Infernal Shrines. You can see he's going to be able to use it multiple times here to clear this wave. He's spreading out that damage to make a maximum mana back every time he uses it, and that gives him incredible wave clear in general in the lane, but also insane wave clear on the Shrine. You can actually use it with no cooldown at all on a full minion wave in the Shrine, so you can clear the monsters very quickly. It makes Murden one of the best Shrine clearers, actually, whereas before that was not something he was good at. Now he's amazing. Pretty standard talents otherwise across the board. And we are actually also going to see the Skullcracker pick up for Murden, getting those stuns. And that's going to give him a lot of chase potential. It's going to be very hard to get away from a properly stutter step Murden because he has that microstun over and over and over again. And eStar just abusing their lead at this point. They got the camp. They're going to push in with it. They're going to get the mid wall. This is they're banking on the 50-50 here. The slam comes down, actually finishes off Tyrael, and they do get away from the explosion. No one ends up going down. They take some damage, but it's just on the Sonya. It doesn't even matter. Falstad actually flying into the back there. I don't know about that decision. He is extremely lucky there was no CC available. It was all on cooldown. He did not end up going down. Tassadar takes a lot of damage, but does have phase shift, does get out of there. Dimensional shift. And that is the middle wall down. eStar was hoping that the middle shrine would be the next shrine so they could win it and then push into the mid lane with an open wall there just to guarantee that fort, but they are a little bit disappointed. They're going to have to take top instead, which means there is going to be a well available, but at this point they're so dominant on the map that I don't even think they're really worried about it. And we are going to see Murden take quite a bit of damage here, but it's a Murden. He can just jump out. No, Li Ming comes in with the flank and actually gets the pick. That is the first kill on the board for HotsLady. Only the second kill on the board for the entire game. Brightwing is going to phase in with the phase shield, saving Sonya, but eStar Pen is actually so low. His trait procs as the return boomerang proc is coming through and ends up saving him. That was amazing timing. So incredibly lucky. HotsLady is going to be forced to back up here. 10 is going to be picked up here momentarily for eStar. There's no way they can win the Shrine. It was such an important kill for them to get. But mid lane is being pressured by a siege camp for them. Bot lane is fine for the moment, but they need to soak 10 so they can defend with 10. They don't really have the opportunity to win this. There's just nothing they can do. And they are going to back up. They acknowledge that. We are going to see the heroics picked up for eStar. It is going to be Odin, which has been standard on this map since forever, even before Tychus was reworked and was considered, standard in the meta. He was always been sort of a pocket pit for a lot of teams on Shrines because of Odin specifically. Emerald Wind for the disengage. It's going to give them a lot of strong options. Wrath, Forest Wall, and Avatar. We are going to see the Punisher go down, Ancient Spear as the follow-up, and Sonya securing that kill. They try to collapse on a Brightwing, but Brightwing does have Emerald Wind. Looks like Sonya is going to be selected by our observer so we can watch that versus healing timing. And this is going to be top fort going down basically for free. It's going to secure close to a 2-level lead, basically a level and a half lead for eStar. That means they are going to get to 13 first. It is possible for HotsLady to hit 13 before the next Punisher phase if they soak every lane. If they get a pick, they could certainly hit 13, but if they don't soak every lane efficiently, they won't get 13 before the next Shrine phase, and they'll be forced to fight down a Talon tier if they want to contest it. So they're very much on the back foot here. And eStar, again, just abusing their lead. They're going to push in this mid wave. Sonya's going to go top, grab that Bruiser camp. We are going to see Brightwing pushing the mid lane. Looks like we're having some lag on the stream. This happened last time, only in one game. Let me try restarting it. Yep, it's back. Back on low quality, but it's back. You're going to see Sonya Brightwing in the mid lane. And the bottom camp actually invaded by HotsLady. They did manage to secure that. That is going to give them a little bit of pressure in this bot lane. It's going to help them secure that bottom tower, potentially. If they can secure that, that will be a nice little XP bonus for them. And the stream will clear up in a second. Again, apologize. I am casting from a clean feed that's being provided by NetEase. But unfortunately, it's not 100% reliable. Sometimes there's issues. eStar with the counter invade, grabbing the siege in the mid lane. Presumably they're going to back up and get their own. Brightwing, meanwhile, in the top lane, did push in with that bruiser camp that Sonya picked up, and Falstad's forced to back to respond to that. 13 is now picked up for eStar. They do get the middle well. This is a 50-50 chance whether or not the next Punisher is going to be mid. It is going to be mid, so getting that well is actually critical. All of the bottom, well, it is on source. It was just reloading. You guys can see, I'll have to pop it up for you. It's on source. We're going to see Sonya set up on the Shrine. HotsLady does not feel comfortable invading. They are down a talent tier. They're pretty much going to, I believe, try and push bottom here and secure 13 that way. That is what's going to happen. They're trying to push in as hard as they can. We do see Alarak pushing up the lane while everyone else focuses on getting the towers. Falstad in the top lane is soaking with that global. And the bottom wall is going to go completely down. They really want to get that well so that they get the next Punisher in the bot lane. They will be able to trade evenly. Having a well in the Punisher, active Punisher lane is incredibly helpful for winning the Shrine itself, because you can back up and tap once you get chunked. If you don't have that well, you can't back up and tap as quickly, and you can get tempoed out of the Shrine very efficiently. You're going to see the Punisher jump in. There's no wall here to defend, so this fort is going to go down basically for free. HotsLady's just trying to bait the Punisher all the way back over the wall so that they can DPS it safely without getting invaded. And they are going to have bait another jump here momentarily. Looks like the cooldown is finally up, and the fort and part of the keep wall are going to go down, but they don't lose anyone. But still, eStar holding on to their level and a half lead they've had pretty much the entire game at this point. And this is the sign of a really efficient macro team. Once you get a lead, that lead should never change. You should always have that lead or more if you're playing well. And you can see their lead's been pretty consistent. We see the Gust out trying to secure these kills. And we are going to see Sanctification go down. Odin actually gets popped mid-fight, and they are going to do the counter initiation, start chasing back to their walls. Tyrael in the top lane is basically out of mana. He's trying to delay Muradin. They're just basically the tanks are 1v1ing while all the DPS go at it. Finally, the DPS are going to rotate and try and kill Muradin. But Muradin's going to be fine because he's Muradin. He just ends up disengaging. And eStar is going to back up, going to start painting the map blue. They're going to grab all of the siege camps. With the efficiency of that Sonya, they can this is something they can do. HotsLady is going to grab their own bruisers. They're not going to get invaded. eStar is perfectly willing to go for that trade. Falstad, again, soaking the bottom lane, Brightwing soaking the top. And the two globals are basically counteracting each other. Both the globals have been soaking the lane pretty much all game, and that means that the experience gain from both has been even. But because eStar is ahead in structures, they're also ahead in experience. 16 to 14 now. That's another talent tier picked up, and again, HotsLady will not be able to get 16 before the next Punisher phase, which means if they want to contest it, they're going to be forced to contest down the talent tier, or they just can't. They can't contest, and they're going to be forced to try and make up the experience deficit some other way. At this point, if eStar continues to play this way, the next Punisher should result in a keep for them, which means HotsLady is a little bit stressed, to say the least. They're actually going for the invade here. Sanctification on the camp. The camp does get invaded for the moment. It is still there, though? No, they're not going to get it, and we are going to see Tastar actually aggressively phase shift in with the wall, trying to catch so many people. He catches 4, but no one ends up going down. There was not enough damage, there was not enough cooldowns available. Tychus did have Odin, but opted not to pop it in the middle of that fight. And that's going to be eStar successfully taking the camp, not losing anyone. HotsLady doesn't lose anyone either, but they did burn pretty much all of their heroics except Counter-Strike. Odin is still available for Tychus, and it is one of those heroics that helps quite a bit on the Shrine if HotsLady decides to contest, but they're not going to. They're just going to go mid, they're going to go bottom. They're going to try and get 16 for the defense. They know they're going to lose the race to a Sonya, and they're going to try and get a pick off here in mid if they can, but Tychus is playing safely backing up. He did a little bit of damage from that leaning orb, but not that big a deal. Pretty center talents across the board. We do see Shando's Clarity at 1 from Alfarian. A little bit of an unusual pickup on this map in particular, just because Moonburn does apply to all non-heroic sources, including the monsters. But they decided that they weren't going to win the Shrine by racing against Sonya. They just needed the sustain as much as possible. They're going to see Brightwing get rooted here, blocked a little bit, but disengage from Emerald Wind, Tastar shields, and HotsLady dive behind forts to make that fight happen. They are going to disengage through them, Smite helping out a little bit there, increasing the speed of the enemy team. forcing them back. We do see Muret at 16 did opt into Stone Skin, a little bit more personal survivability. Heavy Impact was nerfed just recently, and with Brightwing Tassadar, focusing pretty much on keeping the Sonya alive 100% of the time, pumping all the resources into that. Muradin wants to be as independent as possible. Sank does go down, trying to save the Alarak for this fight, but there's the perfect Stormbolt follow-up and the Polymorph. We are going to see Muradin dive in, get that free damage with the Tyrael so low. And Brightwing actually goes down in the back, and then Gus for the disengage. They do catch Muradin with the root. The Li Ming resets are real. That's 2 additional kills on the board for HotsLady. That's incredible. That's exactly what they needed to come back. But meanwhile, in the top lane, Sonya is just pushing with this Punisher, and that keep is going to go down 110%. 2 kills for a keep. That's honestly the best trade HotsLady's has gotten this game. But that's gotta hurt to think that you won the fight, that you finally needed to win, but still lost the keep. Catapult pressure is going to exist in that top lane for the rest of the game. And still, they have no forts left. Their middle keep wall is damaged. Their bottom keep wall is the only thing that's untouched at the moment. But the bottom fort is still gone. If they lose a Punisher, they're going to lose another keep in all likelihood. So that's something that you're concerned about, but for once, they're going to be able to start the Punisher phase. They're going to be able to start the Shrine on an even talent tier. eStar can't quite get 20 before the next Punisher phase happens. eStar was so aggressive during that fight, and HotsLady just finally managed to outmaneuver them, get onto that Brightwing in the back. Emerald Wind was already on cooldown because of the gank attempt earlier. That was just such an incredibly close fight. Tyrael lived with a sliver of health. Not even 100 health. Not even 100 health. 16 is an incredibly important talent here. We do see the Airy Gus was picked up for Falstad. That gives him a lot of value out of the Windrunner talent. Or not the Windrunner talent. It's 13 talent for the reduced cooldowns. Picking up more frequently. Holy Ground is going to do a lot of zoning. Muradin actually taking a ton of damage there. Oh, Twilight Dream tries to go down to cancel the Avatar, but it doesn't even matter. Muradin ends up going down anyway. And we're going to see Tychus try and Odin in the middle of the entire enemy team. Gets telekinesis back into the fight. I don't know if that worked out for him exactly. He does end up going down. Does not secure the kill on the Alarak that he was desperately trying to get before he went down. And that's another 2 kills for HotsLady on that's 55-second death timers. 55-second death timers. They do manage to steal the camp, and the Punisher is going to come up at 26 seconds there. HotsLady is going to be able to get a significant lead on this Shrine basically for free. eStar can soak 20 in the meanwhile, but I don't think they're actually going to be able to contest the Shrine. And HotsLady is making this happen. They're making the comeback happen. They're getting these picks. I can't believe they managed to pick off a Muradin with Avatar, Healing Static, and Stone Form. Like, his team was right there. It's not like he was alone. His team was right there, and they still managed to isolate him and force him to just get blown up. That is mind-blowing. That is not something you see every day. Incredibly good focus fire by HotsLady to make that happen. And as you can see, they are just erasing the Shrine incredibly quickly. So much, area damage, so many little utilities used together to make this happen. We're going to see Falstad trying to soak, Sonya trying to chase him down. 20 is picked up for eStar, so they still have that half-level lead. The entire experience deficit has not been made up on the skills for HotsLady, and they're actually stopping. They're stopping at 39 out of 40, and they're going to soak 20. They want to get 20 before they end up pushing with the Punisher, so they can push on an even keel and have that advantage of having a Punisher, essentially making it a 6v5. Which is such a big advantage. They do finally get the Punisher. eStar was putting a little bit too much pressure on, racing it a little too quickly. We are going to see Alarak get caught out, ends up going down. The Twilight Dream does not come down in time to save him, nor does the Sanctification. It does come out after the fact here. And this is not an even talent tier fight. This is still 2019. eStar is pressing their advantage. They do end up picking up the Malfurion. The Falstad's going to go down as well. And they're going to try to end. It's a little bit dangerous to try and end here. Li Ming on core is one of those things that can, she gets the 1 kill, she starts getting the resets, she can be incredibly scary. We're going to see her use Disintegrate there and her full combo. She does get a lot of damage onto the Muradin, but Sonya has a lot of self-heal. We are going to see Odin on core as well. Odin on core is one of those things that just does an incredible amount of damage. Muradin actually trying to get the kill on Li Ming. She does get the opportunity to blink out before Tychus can get on top of her and do that full combo of the Odin damage. 64% on core, 60, 50. and that's going to be game. eStar is going to take the win off the back of that one team fight. HotsLady put up such a good fight. Such a good fight at the very, very end of the game, but they were just too far behind. GG. Yeah. So someone asked me earlier who I thought the favorite was. I said eStar. I think eStar's the favorite to win the round robin. X Team might give them an upset, but I don't think HotsLady or SOA can take it. They're just not quite on the same level. Last time I saw their games, I haven't seen their games in a while. I don't have any contacts in China, so I don't get to hear anything about their scrim practice or what they've been, trying lately. But GFE Royce, by the way, thank you for the tweet. Appreciate it a lot. It's actually amazing. You can ignore that. I'm just taking notes and some things. Literally opening a notepad to take notes. Of course, eStar didn't perform as well in the last Gold League as they did prior to that. I believe they had at least one roster change, which impacted them quite a bit. They did lose to Zero Panda and Super Perfect Team, who ended up taking the spots for BlizzCon. Though they didn't end up going to BlizzCon because of issues with their actual rosters. But of the Chinese teams that are in the wildcard qualifier, eStar has been the most consistently successful. So to my mind, they're the obvious choice. But we'll have to see how it ends up working out for them once they face X Team. I think X Team versus eStar will be the most interesting matchup of the round robin. I'm willing to be surprised. The Chinese teams always are pulling out interesting strategies from my perspective. They're always pulling out stuff that I find not necessarily surprising, but that other regions aren't doing. And if you practice something that maybe people aren't going to be expecting, you're going to be in really good shape. Tomb of the Spider Queen will be the number 2 pickup map, and this is the map that HotsLady did pick. They preferred this map, obviously. There are quite a few strategies on Tomb of the Spider Queen in particular that can be a little bit surprising, and you can really push in hard for the win with. Obviously, most of them are, pretty much known about this point. We've seen Asmo strats for as long as I can remember. There are all sorts of wave clear centric comps that allow you to push in. There's extremely vision oriented pick comps that just abuse the fact that the map is relatively small, and you are forced to rotate together. We actually saw back in the Diablo Tyrande era, we actually saw something we almost never see on Shrines, or on Tomb of the Spider Queen rather. In Europe, which was we saw a comp that was Jaina, Tassadar, Sylvanas. And they put one in each lane, and they just had Diablo Tyrande roaming around killing people. And they got to the point where they literally couldn't move out from their gate. If they were outside their gate, Diablo would dive the gate, get the combo overpower, and they would just die. And they had enough damage from Sylvanas, Tassadar, or Jaina in their lane to consistently keep getting those kills. So we saw a 1-1-1 with a 2-man roaming gang squad on Tomb of the Spider Queen in EU in a couple games, actually. When Tyrande was dominant. But there's certain drafts that can break, in some ways, the normal laning strategy of the 4-1 on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And they tend to be very aggressive styles of drafts, and if there's anyone who's going to be aggressive, I think it is the Chinese teams. The Koreans are famous for being aggressive, but the Chinese outclass even them in this regard, in my mind. Although the Koreans often get away with their aggression and don't die, whereas the Chinese usually end up going in these bloody brawls. But it's entertaining to watch, so who cares? I am back to reading chat, by the way. I don't have my alert on for pop-ups because I don't want to put them over the cast. But I did promise I would do shout-outs to follows. So thank you, ADMG85 for the follow, G Gruel, Chemical AU, Pandem1, Druid1000, Hyungun2301, and Archangel LEQ2. Thank you for the follows. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to Min Hyu Nyung for the $20 donation. Holy shit. Sorry. Wow. Thank you for the $20 donation. That is amazing. You did not include a note. Okay. So that's just pure appreciation, I guess. So yeah, I don't have an alert up on stream, but if you do throw me a follow, I will give you a shout out in between games while the Chinese casters are saying things that I can't hear. We are going to move on to game 2. However, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have eStar versus HotsLady on Tomb of the Spider Queen. eStar currently up 1-0 in the set, but this map was HotsLady's pick, and hopefully they have some cool strats to show us. Before the night is out. I am being told to check my Discord message. We're going to see ETC banned out by eStar. That's the second time that's happened. I feel like there must just be a particularly good ETC player on HotsLady. For instance, Ballistics, when they went up against Fnatic, pretty much always banned or took ETC because Breeze was on fire at BlizzCon. It's just kind of odd to ban it out that early. Kerrigan will be banned out by HotsLady, and Kerrigan is sort of the queen of pick comps on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and there's this dynamic of push versus pick. If enemy team has more wave clear and more push than you do, you need to go for pick comps in order to kill their pushers so that you can equalize the lanes. By banning Kerrigan, I think HotsLady is saying we want to go for a push comp. We want to have some sort of late game that's just going to strangle the map on top of you. eStar going to pick up Vala. She has sort of the highest damage output and therefore some of the most kill potential, which is going to be important if they're forced into this dynamic, but it also gives them wave clear, so eStar is leaving their draft very flexible. Is this the only set today, or will there be more? So the round robin from last week was 3 sets on one day and 3 sets on the other day. So I think there's going to be 3 sets tonight and 3 sets tomorrow. Again, I do not have a streaming schedule from them. I only have the information that the games are going on. So I'm just going to keep casting until there's no more games left, and then tomorrow I'll be back with more. We are going to have HotsLady locking that Murden. No surprise there. Again, there are only 2 complete tanks in the game. We're going to bring this up, especially because I did an interview with Blizzard designer at BlizzCon, and they thought tanks didn't need an escape, and I'm very sad about it. So we're going to keep talking about it. ETC and Murden are the only 2 complete tanks in the game that have every tool that a tank actually needs to do their job. The other ones are all conditional and have weaknesses that need to be drafted around. And of course, once you ban ETC and then don't pick up Murden, the other team is going to lock it in 100% of the time. Murden and Malfurion are going to be the pickups. Malfurion, one of the best healers on Tomb, just because of the sheer sustain he gives the 4-man, the healing over time, and the mana restore make it exceedingly difficult to deal with him. We are going to have Tassadar be the pickup. Tassadar is a hero that we've been seeing more and more paired with Vala pretty much all the time. If you go look at Vala's win rates in pro play, they're only like 44% since her rework, not very high. But if you take away all the games where she doesn't have a Tassadar or doesn't have triple frontline, it goes basically to 0, which means on the flip side, she wins about 90% of her game where she has a Tassadar or has triple frontline, where she has that protection. You can draft an extremely low damage comp, have a Vala, and win the game, because Vala just does so much damage after her rework. If you give her a Tassadar and another support, she never dies. She can play as aggressively if she wants to, and it just ends up being brutal to deal with. The best support to give her as that secondary support is Ariel. HotsLady is going to ban that out there. Like, no, you're not going to have Tassadar, Ariel, Vala. That's not a bullshit combo we're going to let you have in this particular game. Tassadar also does offer wave clear, which is always important to the Spider Queen, as does Johanna. So Johanna was the pickup there because they didn't want to get tank choked with the next ban. And Tyrell's going to be banned up from eStar. Tyrell is often paired with Muradin or ETC as a secondary tank, just because his ability to be incredibly mobile on the map and grant a lot of vision, the movement speed increases. He has a lot of utility as a secondary support. The shields even help a little bit in terms of increasing Malfurion's ability to heal over time, since he doesn't have that burst healing, and Sanctification can negate burst as well. Patches a lot of the weaknesses that Malfurion has as a support. We are going to see HotsLady lock in the Gul'dan Greymane, which gives them an enormous amount of wave clear. Gul'dan, one of the best wave clear heroes in the game. Greymane gives them a lot of blow up potential. Gul'dan's kind of a weird mage because he's a sustained damage mage, kind of a bruiser mage. Something that we haven't really seen here is the Storm before. It took people a while to figure out exactly how Gul'dan fit into comps. We're starting to see more and more of him in pro play now that they realize exactly where he belongs. And Greymane just always been popular in the Asian metas. He's an extreme blow-up hero. He has a lot of playmaking potential. They really like that. They like that focus fire option that he provides. And we are going to see the Rhaegar pickup for eStar along with Samuro. Oh, yeah. It's a good day to be alive. This is the third pro game we have seen with Samuro, but the other games we saw him on, he was not necessarily being played by top-tier players, and I feel like the players on eStar are top-tier. They're some of the best in the world. I'm extremely excited to be casting this game now, and Alarak is going to be the last pickup for HotsLady, giving them one of the strongest solo laners in the game. It's hard to say who won that draft, to be honest. It's hard to say who won that draft. Because Alarak Malfurion is just so incredibly scary. But we only saw it pulled off a couple times in the last game. Looks like HotsLady was struggling a little bit to consistently execute the combo. And it is a combo that requires a certain amount of practice to really have the high impact that you're looking for. And they were really struggling with it. They do have Muradin this time, which is going to make it a little bit easier, because they will have stun into telekinesis into root. They'll have a little bit more setup time, a little bit more discretion on how they use that combo. Both teams drafted a lot of wave clear, so they're going to be able to tie their lanes pretty much. It's going to come down to who can rotate better and who can break rotations better, and maybe even come down to who wins the 1v1 in the solo lane. I like to say that all Samuro matchups, or excuse me, all Alarak matchups are skill matchups. So we'll have to see how it ends up going down. I'm going to pause the stream, pause the feed real quick, and then reload it, because it's still giving me the cogwheel. And I feel like the quality is still a little bit lower than it should be. Let's make sure I don't have anything else running in the background. I do not. Alright. You're welcome, Daniel J. Newman. You're quite welcome. So in the final analysis, we are going to have Johanna, Samuro, Rhaegar, Tassadar, and Vala versus on eStar versus Gul'dan, Greymane, Muradin, Malfurion, Alarak on HotsLady. I'm a little bit surprised to see the Greymane now that I'm looking at the final comp, because Greymane doesn't have a lot of support from just Malfurion. Malfurion's not really the support you normally see support dive heroes. It's not normally what you see. We are going to see the Moonburn pick up at level 1. They're going for as much wave clear as possible. Echoed Corruption for Gul'dan, of course. We're going to see Way of the Blade at level 1 for Samuro. This is pretty much the only talent we've seen from pro Samuro players at level 1. Hot Pursuit, and we're going to see Lightning Bond for Rhaegar going for the increased wave clear. Both teams putting a lot of emphasis on wave clear talents and sustained talents from, you also see the Third Wind and Regeneration Master from Johanna and Muradin, respectively. We are going to see Samuro in the bot lane, but he's actually rotating around with the Rhaegar, while Johanna, Tassadar, and Vala sort of rotate as 3 between the mid and top lanes. They're not committing to their lanes. They're seeing a lot of rotations by the Samuro, trying to push in the lane as hard as possible, while not dedicating a hero to the solo lane necessarily, 1v1ing Alarak the entire time. An interesting decision. We do see OZ was on top of Vala there. XZ taking a lot of damage, but with the Tassadar there, it doesn't really matter. And, oh, actually finally gets the kill on Murden. Beautiful stutter stepping there, putting so much damage. Murden just stayed in a little bit too long. Does not have that late game survivability that he, will have going into the later stages of the game. Still in the early game, he still is relatively fragile, despite his recent health buff. And we are going to see a little bit of a silence there. Telekinesis for the escape. Samurai Clone is forced to get killed. And actually, I didn't think about this until seeing it on this map right here, but the Samurai Clones pushing in with the wave, they will get one-shot by towers, but if there's a wave there, they will not get prioritized, which means they're going to do a lot of damage if you don't clear the wave efficiently and clear the clones. That means Samurai gives you a surprising amount of lane pressure, almost a Zul-esque type of lane pressure. Interesting. We are going to see, again, this interesting dynamic with Tassadar Vala rotating between mid and top. Johanna kind of going where she needs to go between mid and bottom, and Samuro and Rhaegar rotating between mid and bottom. And this is defying the standard 4-1 rotation we see on this map, and they're making it work for them. They're putting a lot of lane pressure in the side lanes, and they're just holding mid. All they have to do is hold mid, not let it get onto their towers, make sure they pick up all the globes, and they can put an exceptional amount of pressure on both the mid and the bottom lanes. It's almost a 2-1-2, which is something we just don't see on Tomb of the Spider Queen. I really like the strategy from eStar. They're having a lot of sustain. We do see Tassadar in the back there is taking a lot of damage, and we see the rotation happen. A beautiful 4-man condemn, and Gul'dan ends up going down. That was a beautiful condemn. That's exactly the kind of thing you want to see happen with a good Johanna player. Saving your condemn for all of those area abilities from your team when they're off cooldown, get a full condemn on the entire enemy team, everything hits, and then whoever's low, you can just finish them off and continue to chase for even more kills. The eStar manages to pull off condemns like that more than once in this game. HotsLady is going to be in a lot of trouble because Reign of Vengeance is one of the best follow-ups to condemns like that, and there's a Vala, right? She's going to go Reign of Vengeance. She's going to follow up that condemn, and that's going to secure a lot of kills. Again, no burst healing out of HotsLady. They do have the Malfurion, but they were denied the Tyrael. They don't have the Sank option, and it's going to be ugly if the entire team gets caught like that again. We do see Vala now rotating mid and bottom on the minimap while team they're goaltending the turn-ins. This is something that we see a lot of, especially in the European scene. Really good teams on this map will goaltend the turn-ins. They will make sure they maintain vision. This is one of the reasons Tassadar is so highly valued on this map. With that Oracle, he can see both turn-in points from mid, one use of his D. And with Samurai Clones constantly pushing in the lanes, you can, if you push in the lanes constantly, you maintain vision, it makes it harder for the enemy team to turn in. And if you goaltend well enough, you can actually get to the point where the enemy team never gets a turn in, and you just get turn in after turn in after turn in. You mean hitting that lane pressure. Talent tier up 7 to 6. HotsLady will hit 7 for the momentarily, but not currently. We do see eStar Panda just bullying Gul'dan out of lane. He tries to put damage on the Vala, but the Tassadar shield comes down instantaneously, and he just can't get any real damage on the Vala. Leeching Plasma and Call's Embrace now picked up for Tassadar, and it's going to get even harder to do. Even in the early game when the shields weren't, permanent, Leeching Plasma wasn't there, they weren't managing to get real damage onto that Vala, and now it's going to be basically impossible. A lot of pressure in the mid lane. Samurai Clone's doing a ton of damage, again, not being prioritized because there is a Web Weaver there. And this is how we're going to see Samurai used from this point onward, I think. This is the lane pressure maps. If you have an AI objective pushing with you, Battlefield of Eternity, he helps race the Immortal. This is the future of Samurai in competitive play, and we're seeing it right here. We started to see him on Shrines earlier on in the Global Wildcard Qualifier. He actually, with the level 7 talent Burning Blade, is doing exceptional clear on the Shrines. He has a really flexible kit. A really scary flexible kit. That will be 2 forts and some damage on the keep wall, and almost a full 3-level lead off the first turn in for eStar. They are going to pick up their heroics 10 to 7 momentarily here, and HotsLady is very much on the back foot. HotsLady does cap their Bruiser Camp, and they actually do manage to sneak turn in. They're not going to be able to push with this very effectively because they are down and talented. They can't actually force fights. Wherever eStar rotates to is somewhere HotsLady needs to not be. They can't force the fight. They can't risk it. You see, they're all mounted up. They're all sort of rotating around. They're not actually trying to clear the wave. They're just making sure they're there to get the experience. We're going to see Johanna and Greymane, or excuse me, we're going to see Greymane with the rotation. Clear that wave and then immediately back up because all they see is the Johanna mid, and they do see the Tastar and Vala bot and the Samurai Rigger top. So they know that's a 3v1, versus a hero who probably doesn't have a lot of kill potential against them. And at this point, I mean, HotsLady's just playing so passively. They're just trying to get the experience they can. eStar is making sure they don't get picks. They want to make sure that they don't take a fight before the web weavers are done because they don't want to potentially overextend into a kill. And if they lose someone, then HotsLady is going to be a little bit more confident about pushing. They're getting a little bit more value out of their web weaver push. As it stands, HotsLady caught up by a level, but they de-pushed their lanes, but they didn't get any real structure damage out of that turn in. And it's to a degree, almost a wasted turn-in. They needed that turn-in just to get the pressure off of their lanes, but by not getting any structure damage, really, they got some ammo and that's it. It feels really bad to turn in 50 gems and get that little value, even though it was the best decision they could have made for the situation they were in. We are going to see Tastar get collapsed upon. He does get burned out there. That is a lot of damage coming out. He already used his E, so that was not available. He doesn't have prescience yet. He's not their team. We are going to see a beautiful Condemn come down. They're actually going to go for the counter engage. We do see Samurai with his stealth trying to get on top of people in the back, but the clone is going to aggressively pursue. And meanwhile, eStar is going to go for the turn-in. They do not quite have enough. They're actually 4 gems short of the final turn-in, and we just see Tastar coming back to life. He's going to rotate down. And Johanna is extremely out of position, does have Iron Skin available, but is going to take a lot of damage here. We're going to see a huge Condemn and an Ancestral. That's actually Counter-Strike coming down, re-chunking her, almost completely negating the Ancestral. She does end up going down, but they get the counter kill on the Alarc. Samurai in the back line. Greymane goes down as well, does not have Disengage available. Muradin, however, with Avatar, is going to be fine. They do end up catching up to the Samurai, but not before Malfurion goes down. That ends up being a 2 for 3. HotsLady, it ends up being 2 for 3, and HotsLady actually didn't lose that many gems. The big concern when you lose team fights like this on Tomb of the Spider Queen is, did you lose your gem carriers? And did the surviving members manage to pick up the gems? 46 gems now for HotsLady. They did have close to 70 before that went down, so they only lost 14 or 15 gems. It's not too big a deal. 13 is picked up off the back of that fight, however, for eStar, and that means they're going to be pushing up a talent tier into this with their web weavers, which is, again, a position that forces HotsLady to play on the back foot. I'd like to point out again that Muradin did pick up that new talent, Crowd Control. This and Infernal Shrines are the 2 maps where I really think Crowd Control is going to become the standard pickup, so I'm not too surprised by that. Johanna did pick up Amplified Healing, as well as Conviction at 7 to give her that increased movement speed on Condemn, giving that better Condage. We've seen that actually quite a few times give her really big games. We actually are going to see Strafe picked up for Vala. I'm very surprised by that, and I was 100% certain, given the fact that we're seeing the standard multi-shot build, we were going to see Rain of Vengeance to follow up on the Condemns. But it looks like they just want to put even more pressure on the Malfurion. And you're going to see top lane pushed in aggressively, trying to get that keep wall down. This is sort of the most important lane on the map because it is the boss lane. If you ever have a late game wipe, if that keep is down or low and you get bossed, you can pretty much 100% end the game. But we are going to see Samurai pushing the bot lane. eStar is staying split. They're trying to get as much soak as possible, trying to get as many lane soak as possible. Johanna does get comboed in by Alarak. We just see a stun onto Vala in the back lane. Forceful actually coming down, splitting the fight in half, and it looks like that was just for the disengage. eStar is opting to back up. We do see Samurai just sort of casually stealing the Bruiser camp in the meanwhile. Look at how fast Samurai burns that down. All of his clones having that single target damage, having that area damage, having the burst from Burning Blade. That's just an insane amount of damage. They were held off long enough for the Bruiser camp, and now they're going to push in with the Bruiser camp. They're going to get even more value. Again, the 2-man Condemn coming in, securing a lot of free damage onto HotsLady, and they're just going to back up. They got what they wanted. They got the entire keep wall. That was their condition. Root does go down, but Johanna has Iron Skin available. She's just going to walk out. Actually, I think that was a Tasser shell. I think the root just expired. Didn't even feel pressured enough to use Iron Skin. Sometimes it's kind of head to toe with the Chinese text on everything. You're going to see the Samuro clone actually doing some ridiculous scouting. Vision is such a premium on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Just having random scouts walking around that you don't control but are going to see so much is actually incredibly valuable. They're kind of like Anubrak beetles. Anubrak beetles used to be amazing scouting tools. If you knew where to position, you could actually trick them into going exactly where you want them to go. We're going to see a hard engage here. Counter-Strike does come down trying to negate some of that damage. Strafe actually getting everyone pretty low. Murden forced to pop Avatar in the backline. He's just on top of this Vala. He actually getting the Skullcracker stuns. Force Wall denies the disengage, and Murden ends up going down. I don't know about going that deep. He is a Murden. He does have healing static, but this is a 3-level deficit, and that is a scary thing. Being behind 3 levels is 12% scaling. Really more than that because it's 4% per level. Oh my god, I'm bad at casting. We're actually, this is the first time, by the way, this is the third game we've seen Samuro in a professional game. This is the first time we've seen Samuro take Illusion Master. So Samuro is actually controlling his illusions. That's why they've been so effective at scouting. I have honestly never seen that talent taken in a game. I have taken that talent in a game. I've been practicing with it. It's hard to use. I've never seen that talent actually taken in a game. And that explains so much about the scouting that's being done and the value of Samuro on this map. That is insane. Wow. You gotta see me like dumb on stream, guys. Remember that. 16 is picked up for eStar. We are going to see Blessed Renewal from Johanna. That's going to pair incredibly well with that Amplified Healing. And we're going to start to see Harsh Winds picked up for Samuro. That is the E talent that reduces the cooldown. Oh, we're going to see Johanna actually get caught by the stun, but it does have Iron Skin available. It doesn't even matter. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You can't catch a Johanna. It doesn't work that way. We're going to see a massive 4-man Condemn again. Vala just standing there pumping out damage. Murden with the Stormbolt actually forces the disengage. Vala not going to be able to keep up with HotsLady as they retreat. And we're just going to see this constantly. Look how aggressively this Vala can play because she has a Tassadar. She's actually in the front line. We're going to see Blessed Shield come down. She actually is so low, but Tassadar shields, constant Tassadar shields. She kites backwards. She gets the heal. Ancestral actually used on Vala to get the engage. Greymane ends up going down in the back line. Murden's going to go down as well. That jump is not going to be enough, I don't believe. I think Samuro can catch up to him. No, he's forced to back up. But Alarak in the back is so low. That will be 4 kills for eStar. Murden, the only one to live. Alarak trying to create space for his team, but he's actually just leading them away. He's trying to lead them away from the keep. Make this as difficult as possible to get that keep. But did not create enough space. Murden is not going to be strong enough defensively. We do see Rhaegar did take Healing Totem at level 4, and he's going to put that down, which is going to top everyone off. And it looks like eStar is actually posturing for the end. You can see Vala is rotating around for the keep, thinking about going in, thinking about potentially getting a kill. As they get the keep down and going on to core, they end up backing up instead, which I think is a safer decision. Samuro is going to get some soak mid. He actually was deep into the base and used Illusion Master to pop himself back out to the safety. Wow. Illusion Master is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Bottom keep ends up going down as well. And at this point, eStar is just so incredibly far ahead. $16 is finally picked up for HotsLady. Pretty standard counts across the board. We are going to see the increased root size, but at this point, I just don't know if HotsLady has the team fight mechanics to actually take a definitive fight off eStar. We are going to see Johanna, however, get picked off. That is a huge for HotsLady because Johanna's been doing so much to keep her entire team safe, but all the damage is still available, and HotsLady is so incredibly low. The Ice Block from Malfurion saving him temporarily, but Alarak ends up going down. Samuro goes down as well. They get the counter kill. This ends up being 2 for 2 so far. They're trying to get the Greymane, who is disengaging, but they do end up getting Gul'dan in the bot. Tassadar not able to secure that kill on Greymane. Wonder why that happened. Tassadar not an assassin. He did come very, very close, though. That Greymane was extremely low. But meanwhile, eStar, Panda, XC, Vala is just going to push in that mid lane. And they are going to get some free structure damage on the keep. eStar is going to be able to pick up 20. Both teams are going to be alive and well momentarily, 24 seconds till they're all up and about. But in the meanwhile, eStar is going to be able to pick up 20, and that means it's going to be 20-17. HotsLady does have turn-in, but so does eStar. Looks like Rhaegar is turning in mid. The bottom siege have been started by Vala. She's going to solo those really quickly. She did take Temper by Discipline, so she has a lot of lifesteal. She can just do this very efficiently on her own without losing too much health at all. And that's going to be Siege pushing bot, Catapults pushing bot, Catapults pushing top, and Webweavers pushing all 3 lanes. And that is 20 picked up for eStar. Johanna will not be going... Actually, Johanna does not pick up Indestructible. Johanna picks up Blessed Radiance, I believe it's called. The upgrade to Blessed Shield, which does increase the duration of the stun time to its old pre-nerf duration. It's 2 seconds instead of 1.5 on the primary target, and a full second on the secondary targets instead of 0.75 seconds. We are going to see Vala actually caught out here and erased. Playing forward so aggressively does finally catch up to her. She just absolutely gets destroyed there. Roots everything on top of her. She does end up going down. Samuro, meanwhile, pushing in the top lane. Webweavers top and bottom are on the core. Catapults are on the core. Siege are on the core. And HotsLady actually needs to defend. They have to sacrifice mid-keep to potentially defend their core. I don't think they can clear this fast enough. I don't think they have the wave clear. The core is at 60%. They do finally manage to push it off for the moment, and now they're going to aggressively pursue this fight. Vala, again, is dead. We are going to see Samuro, again with the micros, getting out of there. His clones, he was in danger. He cloned, and then he wasn't in danger. Tassadar actually ends up going down. A post-16 Tassadar death is not something you see very often in pro play. He has all those self-heal, he has prescience, he has the movement and speed increase on his E. He has 2 E's, essentially he has 3 life bars. HotsLady had to put a lot of damage into him to get that kill, but they do manage to secure it. And we are going to see Samuro coming in from the back trying to secure the kill. He does get silenced by Twilight Dream, but just casually walks away on one of his absurd clone targets. He does reclone, trying to make it happen, but no, actually getting a little too cheeky with his clone micro, does end up getting telekinesis and silenced, ends up going down. And at this point, eStar's in a lot of trouble. They are staggering their death timers. This is the one thing you never want to do in the late game. You never want to stagger your death timers. Because if your death timers are staggered, you aren't securing kills on the enemy team, you're constantly in this 5v4, 5v3 situation that goes on and on and on and on and on. And HotsLady making a show of it, making a game of it. They're getting... I feel like eStar is getting way too cocky with their shenanigans, with their Tassadar shenanigans, with their Samuro shenanigans. They're just not quite in the position they want to be in. We do see the E upgrade at level 20 for Samuro. This pretty much gives him a... It's close to 100% uptime. It's like a 6-second cooldown, I believe, now on his E with the stealth, with the disengage options. He has so many shenanigans he can pull off. And we're actually seeing full cocktail build out of Greymane as well. Some interesting talent choices across the board. Given the axe from the Murden along with Rewind, so he's going for the heavy damage version of Murden, despite the fact that he did take third wind at level 1. And Johanna, if she does get cut out, does not have Indestructible. She is a target that actually can be taken down, which is not normally the case. Normally we think of Johanna as being pretty much immortal in late game team fights because of that Indestructible. We are going to see, again, aggressive dive in on Vala, trying to secure the kill on her. Vala just needs that shield all the time. We are going to see her finally start to get it. Another beautiful 4-man condemn, but silence for the counter engage. Force wall across the choke here, making it awkward for HotsLady to disengage. They are going to take a lot of damage, and Johanna just is not dying. Look at that regeneration on her health. Look at the blessed renewal at 16, doing so much healing on multiple targets. And Doge coming down. That's just a commentary from one of the teams. We are going to see them press in. That is 2 kills secured, but the Webweavers were turned in for Webweaver turn-in did happen for HotsLady. All of their lanes are slowly getting depushed. They're not going to get any real structure damage out of this, but they will get their lanes depushed. But this is just Alarak and Malfurion on core. Excuse me, this is just Malfurion defending core against a full 5-man push in the late game. And that's going to be game. eStar is going to take it 2-0 over HotsLady, winning the first set of the round robin. GG.